Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Adventures in Metaphysics. And today we are back with another This or That, which is VR is not quite the right word. Inspired. It is inspired by the series done by Papez. She is the creator of this type of video. So in her series, she goes through her decks in a mindful way to kind of compare the decks that she feels haven't been getting much use in her collection to decks that really do, and to see if there's similarities there, to kind of explain, why a certain deck might not be getting as much use as she would like, I guess you could say. So it's a method of decluttering in a sense, but I like to think of it more as mindful curating. That's how I see it. There's some of my favorite videos that she does. I love when she does these. And so I go through a similar process with my collection or library. I think of my decks more as a library, but I have to say the habit of calling them a collection, it's just gonna stick, which is okay with me. Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Okay, all to say that this is something similar that I do with my decks. I tend to include that as part of my purchasing process, but also I don't necessarily like to not try something out because I, say, already have a deck in whatever category it is that I have put onto it. Because I just never know what's gonna work or what I'm gonna love. So, that being said, I have a this or that today, but with a little bit of a twist. So, we are going through some decks today to look at some that I've really just not fully given a chance to. And I realize, after looking at them and making pairings, it's because I have another deck that I really love that feels similar. But as a result, these decks are not immediately going into my timeout bin. I am going to challenge myself to take the decks that, quote-unquote, I don't want to say the word lose, but, I don't pick over the other. We're going to put all those together, and I'm going to challenge myself to use at least one of those decks for the next few weeks, every week, as part of my weekly deck selections, to really make sure I'm giving the deck a proper chance and making an informed decision for me before I decide to pass it along, or just decide, write it off as it's just not something that's working for me. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And actually, we're going to be a little bit of a hypocrite and start with a pairing of one that I already do not have. But this doesn't totally fit into the category of the rest of the decks I'm talking about, but it's one that I did kind of do a this or that process with that I thought I would share. And that is the Wildwood Tarot, and I don't know how to insert pictures, I'm not gonna lie. So, if future me, meaning like hour from now me, figures that out, I will be so impressed. I will be just as impressed as you are. But if this stays blank, that's that. Did I say what it was? Oh my gosh. Wildwood and Druidcraft. I didn't even say it. I don't think I did. Anyway. So, we're just going to show the Wildwood now, because that is what stayed. We're going to bring in the camera just a little bit. I did trim my copy and love how it turned out. So, I had the Druidcraft, well, okay, backstory. The Wildwood is probably maybe the second or third deck I ever owned. And it was too soon. I got this very early on into learning tarot, and it was too much too soon, so I didn't connect with it. I did not like it, and so I rehomed it after, maybe a few months. And since then, I just kind of thought, I don't like that deck. It's not one for me. Until recently, when I pieced together that maybe it was because it follows its own system, and I was still trying to learn the Smith-Waite system. And this came up in a tarot trade that someone was looking to trade this deck for 2 very specific decks, of which I had. So, which I had in my rehoming bin, I should say. So I figured, you know what, they'll be getting something they really want, and I just kind of want to give this another chance. And so this came back into my life. But before that, I did purchase Druidcraft and was really excited about it. And I thought that maybe, you know, Druidcraft would be what I wanted Wildwood to be at the time. And in a way, it really was, and it's an amazing deck. It really is. But once I got this back into my library of decks, I just fell so head over heels with this. And then, to follow that, I started having some really amazing experiences with the goddess Ellen of the Ways, which actually, I passed by her card. She has a card in this, the Ancestor card shows her. So after that connection happened, this deck really became the one for me, and I realized that for whatever reason, this deck and Druidcraft just felt too similar. And I knew I wasn't going to reach for that one. So, all that to say, Wildwood has stayed, and Druidcraft has been moved on. So this is the one pairing I had that did not fit into this category I'm talking about, where, you know, it's decks that I want to give another chance. I already knew, my mind was made up about Druidcraft, and again, on a trade group, someone was looking for the deck, and I like knowing that the decks I'm moving on are gonna get, like, really loved and used. Obviously, it's okay if it doesn't work out for that person too, but they seem to really want it and were excited about it, so I moved it along to someone who I knew would get more joy out of it. Okay, enough about that. Now, next pairing we have is, I'm just gonna pull these out of their things, because this is just in a box. Ooh, sorry, my bad. The Stolen Child Tarot. And, oh my gosh. I can never remember the name of this one. I think it's like Spirit of the Flowers. Oh my gosh. I can never remember the name. You know what, it's funny because, okay, I won't spoil anything. I won't spoil anything. I think it's Spirit of the Flowers. I'm not sure, I'm actually not certain though. This one. So, you know what, let's flip these around. I got these both in around, within the same few weeks, I would say. Both of these decks show children-like creatures, whatever you want to say, kind of like fae creature children. It's the category I'm making for it. In nature. And they just, while they feel dissimilar to me, they also feel really similar. Now this one, I think it's Spirit of the Flowers. Oh my gosh, that's gonna drive me crazy. As soon as I got this one, I fell head over heels for it. This one is out of print, unfortunately, so it's also one that I honestly never held much hope for getting. Are we focusing? Come on! Alright, we're gonna keep it down here. I never had much hope for getting this deck, if I'm gonna be honest. I had it as an eBay, you know, saved search as you do. But other than that, I wasn't really looking out for it as much as I so connected with this imagery. And then it popped up on eBay for a non-out-of-print price. So we took the opportunity. I shouldn't say non out of print price because it's a low Scarabeo deck, which means, you know, originally it was probably like $15, $20. But it wasn't a insane out of print price. I guess that's more the right terminology to use. And so this one came and I've just been so head over heels about it. I've connected so well to it, and these images, they're just so cute. Oh, and I love how the cards have been interpreted in this one. And so, with the Stolen Child Tarot, I didn't really have that same instant connection. I love the artwork. And I have already used this as one of my decks for the week. But it originally came and had these really big white borders. And I think that could have been the disconnect for me, honestly. Oh, I love this card. So we trimmed all of the borders off, and I do really enjoy how it came out. But I think since that original use and not, you know, again, having that instant connection, when this one feels similar to me, I just keep going for this one instead of this, and I find myself really comparing them. Where I do feel like if I spent the time with the Stolen Child Tarot, I think I would feel differently. And I want to give it a chance now that I've trimmed it. So, that being said, the Spirit of Flowers Tarot is going to get put aside for the time being while we keep out the Stolen Child Tarot to spend more time with and, you know, make judgments from there, because I do really love, how good is that Empress? I love the Empress and the Emperor in this. And it's just a little bit weird and creepy. I'm not gonna lie, I love that. So, yeah. I'm really excited. I'm excited about this challenge I'm having for myself. I feel like I've been doing a lot of challenges for myself lately, but I think that's a good thing. Because, you know, I want to be mindful with this collecting of sorts that I do. You know, I want them all to be usable for me. That's kind of a thing for me. You know, I enjoy having a variety of decks, but I want to be using them all, I guess is my point. So, next pairing. I'm talking a lot today. Hopefully that's okay. We have the Victorian Romantic Tarot. Oop. How are you all enjoying following me on this? Learning how to use a camera journey. Hopefully it's not too painful. I promise. It'll get better, I say hesitantly. Anyway, and the first edition, oh my gosh, Revival Art Tarot. Oh my gosh. My brain is officially shut off today, I suppose. Okay, anywho. Victorian Romantic and Revival Art Tarot. As we zoom back in. I probably shouldn't zoom out for the bags. But here we are anyway. So the reason I have these two together is because they are both found art decks with art from a very, if not the same, a very similar time period. And while they do feel different to me, I think because they are found art decks, they start to just pair together in my head. And I find myself feeling like I need to choose one or the other. And I don't. You know, I don't need to choose one or the other. If it comes down to it, they're like both, that's okay. But I pick the Victorian Romantic over this one. But I just feel this draw to the Revival Art Tarot, and I'm not sure what it is. And so that's kind of my point with this too, is that all the decks I'm showing are ones that I feel attached to in some way, and I can't pinpoint why. So I really want to make sure I give them the time of day to just also understand more of what is it that I'm attached to, you know? Is it just that I think it's a beautiful object? or do I actually feel some kind of connection to it to use? Either one's okay, but I want to be mindful about that. So these are ones that just, they start to compete a little bit in my head. Even though I really love them both. Ugh, I love them both, but I have to say, I don't often go for the found art decks. They're probably not what I'm gonna pick over other kinds more times than not. So, Victorian Romantic Revival Art. The Victorian Romantic will go away for the time being while we spend some time with Revival Art. Actually, I feel really excited about this one. I think I feel like I just almost needed to do that with this one, because this is probably specifically the one I most feel really attached to. And I really want to, look at that Queen of Cups. I really want to spend time with this one. So I'm probably most excited about this. Which doesn't that seem so silly that, like, I even feel, if I'm feeling so attached to it, why wouldn't I have just used it in the first place? But I've got no explanation for you. Aside that I think I just compare it to Victorian Romantic, which I absolutely love. Next on the list, we've got the notorious JBG Tarot and the mini Sasarai-Bito. I love these little butterflies you put on here. So these ones are paired together because they both are darker mini decks. That's all there really is to it. And if I'm being honest, I almost am inclined to put both of these in the rotation because neither of these are ones I feel like I've fully given the time of day to. Yet, I don't feel like I can let either of them go right now. But as much as I love mini decks, I find that they're not the ones that I go to use. Which is an interesting thing I've learned about myself recently because I just kind of thought I loved mini decks. I don't have a ton, but if there was a mini version, I mean, you know, it for starters makes it a bit more affordable, so for sure a motivation if I just kind of want to try something out. But for my morning pulls, I don't go for the mini ones. So they kind of get their time to shine when I'm traveling. That's what I'm going to bring if I'm traveling. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to pick my teeny tiny tarot pretty much every time because it feels so universal and neutral and just good for any kind of situation. So I want to spend time with these, you know, outside of traveling because I don't pick these ones when I travel. But I just really like them both. And they both have these, like, darker tones to them. And the Sasarai-Bito specifically is a very different kind of deck for me because it does have more, like, realistic people and kind of a bit pippish. And I really love it. I really do. I mean, I've talked about that Nine of Cups card and, like, just how pivotal that felt, in a way. And so I actually, you know, this is not the direction I thought I was going to go with this, but as soon as I pulled them both out, I kind of realized I think these both need to be given a chance. I think, say I was going to pick one over the other right this second, it'd probably be the JBG, just because I love these creepy little doll-eyed girls. I just think they're so fun and so cute. And I love bringing this one to work with me. Where the Sasarai-Bito feels a little bit more affronting, so I'm kind of more hesitant to bring that one. But yeah, I think we're gonna keep both of these out and try and use both of them. Yeah, that sounds right. That's what we're gonna do. So that is the Notorious JBG Tarot and the Satsuri Beto. And I guess when it comes down to it, the real comparison probably was to the Teeny Tiny Tarot. Because that's my other mini tarot deck that I would say, like, competes. Well, they compete with, if I'm gonna be honest. I always want to pick that one, you know, especially for travel. Alrighty. What do we want to do next? Oh, I have a... Okay, so this one turned into, like, a three-way competition of sorts, and I've got another, so let's go into that, because that's kind of exciting. We have the Deep Crystal Tarot, the Smith-Waite Centennial Knittin. Ooh, are we all gonna fit? And the Tarot de Marseille Waite? Yes. So, I'm sure you can guess the reason that these are all paired, but it's because they are, I mean, the original Smith-Waite or pretty direct clones. Where they pretty much follow the artwork. The Marseille Waite doesn't, I'll say. We're gonna come out a little bit. Perfect. Alright. Okay. So, what words do I have to say about this one? I think it's just that they all feel very... They are or either feel very Smith-Waite to me. And I'm not one to use the Smith-Waite. So really, okay, so I have this, okay. So, I'll say that I have this tarot in a tin here because, just for comparison reasons, really. This one is not going anywhere. This is my study deck. I don't really read with this one. I'm okay not reading with that one because right now I just don't really like to read with a Smith-Waite deck. But I do like to learn about it, and this is the deck I use when I am learning about these imagery and the symbolism. So, you know, since I feel that way, does it make sense to have essentially more than one? This deck here, the Deep Crystal Illuminated Tarot, is the Smith-Waite recolored, pretty much. The artist did, you know, redo the artwork. It's not a true recoloring per se, but essentially. But I do love the colors. When it comes down to it, I like the colors. It's exciting to me to see it that way. Also, I just love the weird snowflake backs. This was gifted to me from Allie Totaro. She just thought I'd like to try it, and she was right. I've been enjoying trying it. I guess it's just kind of, you know, when it comes down to it, like, do I really enjoy using a Smith-Waite? I'm not sure, but I've not really given it a chance. And the Tarot de Marseille Waite, I do really like. I like this combination of those two styles of decks, and I love the artwork. But I've also just not really given it the time of day. So, we're gonna take both of these and put them into the rotation to see how I feel, you know, and see, do I feel a need? Do I want to keep both? If yes, that's okay. Or do I feel like I can keep one? Maybe neither? I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, that is the Tarot de Marseille Waite and the Deep Crystal Illuminated Tarot compared to, you know, the Smith-Waite in a tin. Okay, we are cruising through. We've got 3 more pairs here, and these are true pairs. Alright, let me not to waste any more time putting these back. We'll make a mess and we'll clean it later. That's the motto. Okay. Next we've got the messenger cards, guidance from animal spirits, and my Prairie Majesty Oracle. So both of these are animal oracles that pretty much describe themselves just like this says, guidance from animal spirits. Now this, you know, the Prairie Majesty has plants as well, but it's pretty animal heavy. And as I'm sure you know if you've watched my videos, Prairie Majesty is a real ride or die for me. It was the first oracle I seriously used, and it's not going anywhere. This is a newer one to me that I was gifted to try out, and I've not tried it. I keep accidentally putting it away somewhere, like different places too. I don't know how I'm managing it, and where I forget I have it. So if anything, I realize that these two do compare for sure. But if anything, I really just, oh, I love this. I love this artwork. I just needed to take this one out so that I remembered that I had it. Oh my gosh. That's how it goes sometimes. So I don't have much to say on this because I love Prairie Majesty, and I have almost not even really looked at these cards because I accidentally put it away and then forgot. So that's that. We'll be quick on that one. That one's just 100% going into the rotation because I do think I'm gonna like it. It's a very interesting oracle. And you know how I feel about my animal decks. Okay. Next up, we've got Woodland Wardens with Seed and Sickle. I know, the scandal! The scandal. How could I be comparing these? I will tell you why. And this was actually spurred from a conversation with Amanda over at Venus and Virtue, who was considering this deck and just kind of asking me my thoughts on it. And within telling her my thoughts on it, I was like, oh. So the reason I love this deck so much, I love Woodland Wardens, so no one lose their shorts over it. This one's staying. I love that it is animal focused, adding in plant imagery and smaller details. We're gonna zoom in just a little. Okay. As much as I want to be one who likes to work with plant energy, I'm not sure that I am. Animals is kind of where it's at for me, and so being able to work with plant energy in regard to an animal has been really working for me. I love this deck so much. And so the Seed and Sickle is a plant deck. And I will say this is probably the one I've liked the most. Out of the few I've tried, I've enjoyed the bit of work I've done with this, and I think it could be one that really works out for me. But I'm just a little unsure about working purely with the plant energy. I don't know that I really connect with that. And as beautiful and well done as I think this deck is, you know, I think that's okay if that's what ends up happening, because I have this deck that lets me have the best of both worlds. So, as much as I don't want to, we're gonna put Woodland Wardens away, and we're gonna try Seed and Sickle out again. Ooh, this is gonna be so fun. I'm so excited about this challenge. I already said that, but this is gonna be so fun. I feel like it's just gonna make those weekly updates a little more exciting, at least for me. Maybe you feel the same. I don't know. Also keep an eye out for polls in the community tab, because I will definitely be doing those to kind of see which ones you all might want to see me working with first, or whatever it is. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Alright, we've got one more pairing. And that is the Tarot of the She and the Hush Tarot. So, the Tarot of the She, as you can tell, has already gotten dethroned out of its bag. It's this one. This really gorgeous hand-dyed yarn one, which now holds my Crimson Asteria, because I made the bag for this deck before I trimmed it, so it just didn't really fit it right anymore. Also, I'm questioning whether I like it, so there's that too. But it fits the Crimson Asteria perfectly, so that worked out. Anyway. So as I have spoken about, working with the Fae is something that's become really, really important to me, and really a real substantial part of my practice. And the way I, pretty much work through any of my practice is with cards, for the most part. So having a Fae or Fairy deck that I connect with has been really important. And I really thought it was going to be Tarot of the She, based on just like flip throughs I watched and what other people's experiences with it, really. And I think it might have been Dawn Michelle at Boho Tarot who said this. But these images and the way the She are displayed there, or the Fae, I mean, in Tarot of the She, they look a little bit more like alien-like, and that's the kind of energy I feel like maybe I'm getting, which is totally fine, but it's not necessarily one that I want to be working with. But I'm also not certain. And the Hush Tarot is not, explicitly a Fae deck. It does not, sell itself that way. But I feel like we can all agree it just is. And I have just had some really cool experiences with this one, working with the Brian Froud Fairies Oracle, and this is the deck I use in my daily fairy practice. And every time I think about shifting to the Tarot of the She, I don't want to. And I think that says something, But I don't want to not give it the time of day, Because I used it for my daily pulls before I trimmed it. Kind of similar to the Stolen Child Tarot, where I think I really, I needed to trim it. It just had these thick borders. It was getting in the way of seeing the artwork. So I do want to give it another chance post-trim, because I do really like how the trim turned out. How beautiful is that card? But I won't be surprised if when it comes down to it, if I just keep the Hush Tarot, because that's really what's been working for me. And, I do have other fairy decks. I mean, I showed, the Spirit of Flowers one. That was Fairy Children. I've got the Victorian Fairy Tarot. And while those are more, illustrated versions of the Fae, instead of, how I kind of see these as being more realistic, to me. I love those decks, and I do still use them to work with fairies. So, when it comes to my spiritual practice, I'm good. When it comes to my daily pulls, if I want to work with fairies in that way, I'm kind of good. So, I want to give this one a chance, though. It feels like the fair thing to do. So, we're going to keep the Tarot of the She out to work with one of these weeks. But that is the last pairing that I have. So hopefully this wasn't super all over the place. I feel like I've truly just been turning on the camera and just starting to talk without much of a plan, which is exactly what happened just now. So hopefully it was not too scattered. But I have a lot of fun doing that, and I have a lot of fun feeling like I'm hanging out with you guys and talking you through my brain processes. But with that being said, again, keep an eye on the community tab. I will also have all of my links down below where you can book readings and look for my crochet tarot bags and find me on Instagram, all the good things. And I think that's it. I think that's it for today. So have a wonderful end to your week, and I think I'm posting this on Friday. So happy Friday!